live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, a week and we are mostly refreshed. A week off and we are mostly refreshed. Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube, wherever you may be, however you may be listening, live and in living color for about an hour. Back with the gang after a week off. Man, like I said, what a botched opening. You can tell I took a week off there. We are talking about two big topics, one of which we're kind of late on because of last week's hiatus, last week's week off and stuff. We are going to touch on because it was such a huge part of our show. I really racked my brain over whether or not we were going to tackle this or Jeanette McCurdy. And I still think that there's room to tackle that next week, especially if it's a slow news week, if nothing else. But I would say that we have to kind of give a back end of this because it was such a huge topic on the show last time, or 2 weeks ago, was Warner Brothers Discovery's their quarterly earnings report. So we're going to touch on that at the end of the show. We are also reviewing Fall, which I have been one of the few people on the planet who's been very excited for this ever since I saw the trailer attached to the Black Phone. So we will see that. First things first, though, got to ask the gang how we feeling after a week off. Not necessarily a week off in life, but a week off of the show, no less. Start with you, Joe. How you feeling, man?
Dude, man, like, this isn't a job for me or anything. You know, I find this to be a hobby to meet up each week, see you guys talk about movies and everything. But Jesus Christ, that week off was needed because my actual, like, job and everything was just literally throwing everything everything, including the kitchen sink, at me. In terms of events, workload, my next class just started for the fall semester. So, you know, as much as I love going to movies and everything, it was nice, like, a whole week. I didn't have to plan out, like, okay, I need to find a showtime on this day that will work best for me to go see the movie. Like, it was perfect. Like, I was glad to have a week off so I could just catch up on all that stuff. I got a haircut. You can't tell, but, like, I did my laundry, even though there's,
I got a haircut, too.
I know, I was going to say, I noticed. Yeah, it's a lot shorter than the last time I saw you. There's still laundry on my bed, but when I had 3 weeks of events back to back, my laundry load was like literally touching like my bed frame right there, like almost as high.
Yeah, I'm backlogged on laundry myself too. That gets away from me and stuff. I usually wind up doing like 3 loads before I even start folding.
Jesus.
It gets bad. What's up, D? How are you?
Good. Pretty much in the exact same boat, dude. That was a very tactical week off. Very strategic use of the week off because, life goes fast. Got to go fast, as Joe very well knows, and I can't say much, but just where life is going, it's a mystery as to where it'll go next. But it's exciting nonetheless. So in the meantime, just gotta keep doing that laundry because for the past couple weeks, I am not ashamed to say that it's been clean it. Dry it, but don't necessarily put it away. Just kind of have it be the grab bag of like, all right, there's 2 socks. For me, it's very easy because my wardrobe, I gotta take a snapshot of the wardrobe one of these days. I pretty much just Steve Jobs it. Yeah, exactly. It's just socks, blue polos, and pants. That's my life.
Look at your boy. Although I have shown up in a yellow shirt here before, but I have last time I counted, I think I have 24 plain gray shirts. So. And quite a lot of polos for work, which I do not wear on the show because that would be tacky.
And to be fair, man, I mean, like, if you're a person that can clean, fold, wash, do all that stuff in one day, you're probably a serial killer. You have too much time on your hands.
There's some days, though, where I just get, like, very anal, and it's like, all of a sudden it's like, okay, I need to run the dishwasher.
Yeah,
now I'm going to do laundry. And then it's like, oh, Christ, there's cat hair on the floor. Now I got to sweep. Like, there's some days I just get, like, really
manic about it, yeah.
Do you get angry when you clean? Like,
no.
Do you get... No, or I should say this. Do you use cleaning as an outlet for anger?
Like...
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I like my workspace to be fairly clean. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? I think the only time I get like super aggravated is when there's like a copious amount of cat hair, which is living with 2 cats. It happens very often.
Same.
Like they have one of the 2 bedrooms I have because I'm aggressively single is their room. And I have to like sweep that like at least once a week because of their damn litter. So like I have to sweep and mop that all the time and stuff.
You
and
have carpet?
No, I don't have a shred of carpet in this place.
Okay, good.
You know,
For that situation.
I have a couple throw rugs, which the cats have thrown up on, mind you, in a place that's 100% laminate flooring. There's 3 throw rugs they like to puke on, but so that something once in a while they have puked on the hardwood before, on the laminate before. But yeah, my place is entirely laminate flooring, which makes cleaning a little bit easier. It makes it a little bit easier. I'm not a big fan of carpet in general, but. First things first, this is not apropos of anything we're talking about. I just feel like mentioning it. I didn't prep you guys on this. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Dom hasn't seen this movie. Joe, I think you might have. Have you ever seen the movie Orphan from 2009?
Yes.
Man, I just rewatched that about an hour before the show because the prequel's coming out on Friday. The prequel's coming out on Paramount Plus, and it's coming into theaters, or Orphan First Kill. 13 years later, they finally decided to make a prequel to this thing. Let me tell you, the reason I just bring this movie up, it's on Paramount Plus now, the original Orphan. Man, this movie is still great. It's still great. Yeah. It's still a very good horror movie. It was one of Vera Farmiga's first like horror movie roles. Yes, this is way before
The Conjuring.
The Conjuring series. This was early, not in her career, but early for her career in like horror movies and stuff. Isabel Fuhrman is so good as Esther in the movie.
Yeah.
The twists are handled. It's hard to call. I'm going to re-review it after the show. I'm going to write a review of it again. It's hard to call, like, how do I say this? It's hard to call a 2-hour movie lean, but it's so lean because not a scene is wasted. Dom, I'm telling you, if you ever have the urge to like want to see a really well-made horror movie, the modern horror movie, Orphan is one of them.
Is this a Conjuring movie?
No, it's not.
No, there's no.
So this came out years before Conjuring.
It stars Vera Farmiga, but I don't know if I said that right. But yeah, it's not a Conjuring movie. Okay.
No, it's not a Conjuring movie. This was one of her first like. If I'm right, if I remember correctly, it was one of her first like forays into like mainstream horror.
Yeah, and to like kind of secure like because I know like you're not the biggest horror fan, but there's no like supernatural thing about this movie. It's just
it's psychological. It's deeply psychological. Yeah. And it's aged really well too, because let me tell you, when I saw this back in 2009, I saw it in theaters with my mother. I remember. Now watching it again, I'm like, oh, they're gaslighting the mother the whole damn thing. Like 25 minutes in, I'm like, oh, they gaslight the shit out of her. I remember this. Isabel Fuhrman is so good in this movie too. I think she was 10 when they made this movie, 10 or 11. She is so damn good.
Yeah.
The thing that I don't understand what they're going to do now, and I don't want to ruin the twist, but Isabel Fuhrman is 25 now, and she reprises her role as Esther in this upcoming prequel, which takes place before she was adopted by the family, and she's even older now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it to be recast, I'll say that much. And Isabel Fuhrman, the only thing about Isabel Fuhrman, though, is that like she still is very youthful, but she's tall as hell.
Oh, did you not see the set photo of what they did?
I knew they used a couple body doubles. I know that.
No, they gave all the main actors, like when they're all on scene, the main actors are on like those stilt boots where it's like, here's the shoe, and then here's like a large ass wedge beneath it.
Oh my god!
or I thought they were doing like perspective tricks, like in Lord of the Rings.
They do those too, but there's like scenes. I mean, like when they're walking next to each other, like they did stuff similar to The Hobbit and like Lord of the Rings, where it's like Esther's like being filmed in one scene, and then she gets off set and they film her, and then like they mess with the perspective, but they also did the shoe thing.
I'm curious to see how this is, because like this thing was supposed to come out in January and then it got pulled. It got pulled from the schedule, like real low key. I've known about this for a few years that they were going to do this, and it just kind of like stumbled upon me. I remember in January it was supposed to come out, but then they said that it was just a rumor or something, and now that they're just dumping it on Paramount Plus in August, and it is coming to theaters. It is in theaters back home by you guys. I did look. Which I was kind of surprised about, but yeah, check it out. If you haven't seen Orphan, I'm talking directly, just like if you haven't seen Orphan, watch it. It's a fast 2 hours too. It's a real, I remember really liking it in theaters, and I thought I'm like, I remember this being a really good movie. It is as good as it ever was. Truly is. So I just wanted to say something about that, though. And like for you, Joe, too, I don't know if you're planning to. You have a life, so you're probably not planning to watch the prequel, unlike me. But I recommend you do go back and watch it if you're bored or you got friends over or something, man, because it is a creepy.
That was one of those horror movies. It's like it's creepy, but I love seeing everybody's reaction to the ending. Like it's just like seeing how like they're like, oh, like it's always just so much fun.
Because it like you almost like in the way it clues you in with the scene with her with the adoptive dad too, like that whole scene which I read an interview with Furman without ruining anything. I read an interview with Isabel Furman before we did the show, and she even said too, she was like the crew, and good on the crew. She's like the crew did everything in their power to make sure I knew what was supposed to happen during that scene and to make it so it wasn't uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like and to foster this atmosphere for like a 10-year-old child actor doing something very risque.
Yeah.
Like it was like you hear all these other stories and stuff, but it was really nice how she like said she's like everybody on that set went above and beyond to make sure I was comfortable.
Yeah.
Like and I love reading that too. The guy who directed it, I can never pronounce his name, John Colette Serra, he did Nonstop, the Liam Neeson movie. Oh. And I think he's one of the most underrated directors. He did that. He did The Commuter. He did The Shallows too, the shark movie.
I love The Shallows.
He's a damn good director. And he's doing Black Adam too. He's doing Black Adam.
I'm sorry, his talent's being wasted by a rock vehicle.
I know, right? Like, but anyway, so yeah, that's my bloviating about Orphan. Just check it out if you haven't seen it. Really good psychological thriller, and I think I liked it even more the second time around. It might have made an honorable mention on my back when I was a very little kid, when I was like 13. That was the year I started writing reviews. It might have made my top 10 that year, even though that top 10 ain't even worth that ain't worth the ink that was used to print it. But anyway, so moving on though, we got to talk about Fall, which I think we're one of the 10 people to see in theaters this week. It actually made decent money. It was only a $3 million production.
Oh, dude.
And it was only in like 1,600, 1,500 theaters or something.
Yeah.
This thing had a real low-key release. I'm going to say this, first things first. I don't know how you guys felt about this, but I feel like we have to address this first. I don't even know if you guys might not know about this. I don't know if I sent this to you as an article. So if not, this might be eye-opening. What they did was they needed this movie to be PG-13. They didn't want it being R. Yeah. Okay, you know where I'm going with
I saw this one too, yeah.
I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, Joe.
No.
They had to recut. They had to edit this movie because they said the word fuck over 30 times in the movie on set. And Scott Mann, the director, came out and he was like, I was yelling at the cast, like, calm it down. Like, we got to get a PG-13 rating. Like, and what they did was Scott Mann is a co-CEO of a deep faking company, of like an artificial intelligence company. And what they did was they used deepfake technology to render the actors and vocal dubbing to render the actors' faces and voices to replace fuck or fucking with freaking. And I was kind of mad that they left that out the day before the movie came out. Because I was like, well, that now people are going to be like paying attention to that.
How many times they say freaking?
I'm going to say this, going in with full knowledge of that, I wasn't distracted by that because this movie for PG-13 is already fairly vulgar. For a PG-13 movie, not that I was clutching my pearls at any time. But I guess the write-up made it sound
You were clutching something, not the pearls, though.
Yes, indeed. That's very true. But I don't know. I think they handled it very well. Like, I mean, it wasn't jarring. I didn't notice it or anything. Like, you know, I thought it was going to be I feared that it was going to be almost comical that they're in that situation and it's going to be freaking this, freaking that. And, you know, it was going to be blatantly obvious.
Oh, what the freak?
You know what? That's what I was worried about. But, like, again, Dom, you knew about it going into this movie.
Actually,
did you
only
feel,
after?
did you feel
only
that?
after.
Only
I didn't know
after,
before.
okay.
Yeah, I was like looking up some info on this movie, and I was like, "Oh, geez, really?" And I didn't really notice it. So it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a good job with that. So yeah, like it came out. I think the Hollywood Reporter or something like that, like a couple days before the movie came out. And I was like, well, that was kind of a crappy thing to do. That was kind of a way to throw it under the bus.
I just want to know how much money that cost. If that wound up being, because this is only $3 million.
It couldn't have cost much because it was cheaper than reshoots. It was cheaper than reshoots.
You're right. I'm thinking of something else. This is deepfakes.
And you got to think too. Scott Mann, the director and co-writer of this movie, is part owner of the
Right.
company they used to do it.
So it's in house then.
You know,
He wrote it off as a.
he had to be like Rick Harrison there when they were in the editing room with this thing and like really sweating, like there's no way this isn't going to get an R rating. Scott Man's like, let me call a buddy who owns this company that I'm a part of.
They got to like the second to last F word used, and they're like, we can keep the other one, and it's fine.
But yeah, hey, I thought it was funny that he mentioned that on set, like during scenes they were ad-libbing, and he was like, we can't use this. Like, we're trying to get a PG-13. It's a miracle we got $3 million out of Lionsgate in the first place. But anyway, though, yeah, this is one of those mostly single-setting movies that takes place entirely atop a 2,000-foot TV tower. TV tower. A lot of people are calling it radio tower, and I think that was what the marketing premise used. It's a TV tower. They make that damn clear in the movie.
An actual, real, like, radio tower, not radio tower, TV tower as well that you can
Did it again.
see.
No. Yeah, this thing is 2,000 feet high, and it's kind of modeled after, I think, a real life tower in California, the KXTV tower, which is very similar structure. But essentially, the plot of the movie is these two, like, it opens, it reminded me of Wrong Turn the way this thing opened, because it opens with like an accident when they're climbing, I think, a mountain or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, something I would never in a million lifetimes do. These three, it's two women and a guy. They're climbing this tower, and the man plunges to his death. And it's the boyfriend of Becky, who's played by Grace Caroline Curry. And essentially, then more than a year, almost a year has passed, and she is like a shell of herself. She's borderline suicidal. She's drinking, drugging, popping pills, and all the like, and stuff like that. And her father, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who probably wanted $1 million of the already $3 million budget just to show up in this thing. Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays her father, and he's like trying to talk her off the medical ledge, so to speak. Well, then enter Hunter, the woman who was climbing with Becky during the accident. Hunter drags her ass out to this 2,000-foot TV tower that they're going to climb for her vlog, and also for the fact that she thinks that like this will get Becky to like overcome not only the fear but kind of get over it, and they can use it to spread her boyfriend's ashes at the top, which is still you'd have to catch me on a very despondent day to agree to something of this nature. Because my God, the people that do this, God love them. God protects the fools. There's a reason humans were not born with wings. Because like I think I said in my review too, I would rather fillet a hot curling iron than climb one ladder rung of that tower. But yeah, the bulk of the movie though is spent atop of the tower after all or most of the ladder crumbles, because they're screwing around when they climb it. And they're stuck up there. They got no cell phone reception. They're in the middle of, I think, the California desert. So they're stuck up there with no resort. And my God, is this thing thrilling. This is a thrilling movie. I made the joke, and then I'll turn it over to somebody else. Turn it over to you, Dom, after me. This is from the producers. I think Lionsgate put out 47 Meters Down, the movie, the submarine movie where they're stuck at below sea level, called 47 Meters Down. And I remember even seeing the first trailer when it said from the producer, the people who brought you 47 Meters Down, I was thinking, oh, I should have just called this one 47 Meters Up. That's what they should have called this one. Technically, it's 609.6 meters, but who's counting? Don, with the head, I will throw it over to you. What did you think? General thoughts on Fall?
I have never, in my movie-going experience, walked around inside a theater. So I was the only one there. I take it
nobody was there.
No one was there. It was literally just me. I looked around. I even said, like, is anyone here? No one. So when you get to the butt clenching parts, I was walking around. You're absolutely right. This is tailor-made to strike fear into the heart of me, because this is you're looking at a guy that when he was visiting the Smithsonian with his parents, he was getting nervous on the second floor looking over the railing, right? I am someone who like has to put their hand out and like to make sure that there's enough space between me at all times.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I don't take heights very well, very much at all. But so this is tailor-made for me. This movie is stripped down to its pretty much bare bones. After that opening premise, and just a quick 15-minute setup for the rest of this movie, it gets right to it. It knows exactly what it's doing, and it zooms in on the technical aspects, which is sound design, close-ups of all the little fine details, the rust of this tower, that it's a miracle that it's even up at all before they get there. But it is down to its absolute soul, and it executes it about as perfectly as I think it could have done, um, with even some psychological twists in there as well, twisting and turning. And with this summer that we've had so far, and even this whole year, it is a refreshing movie for me, and one that I very much enjoyed. And we can get into the very straightforward plot later, but and any issues we have with it. But I'm just gonna keep it right there, Joe.
Uh, Look, this what I'm about to say goes out to some people that I knew saw the trailer and they were saying some stuff about it. Yes, this movie is just about two women stuck on a tower. And if you go into this movie expecting anything more than that, you're an idiot. Like, I'm sorry if you're expecting like it to be anything more. It's like, are they really just stuck on a tower the entire time? Yeah, there's movies made like this. Steve mentioned one earlier, The Shallows. There is also 10 Cloverfield Lane, where people are just stuck in one spot and you don't know how they're going to get out. You need to figure, or the mystery is unraveling of how they're going to get out of there, stuff like that. And constantly when we get these movies, it's like I remember when Gravity came out, and I was like, that movie looks amazing. And one of my friends looked, it's just a lady stuck in space. Like, what's so fascinating about that? What's so fascinating about it is, how the hell is she going to get back to Earth? And you go to these kind of movies, and Dom was kind of hitting on it. You go to these kind of movies for the technical aspects. The camera tricks, the CGI, the sound design, all that stuff. And also the butt-clenching moments like Dom said. And this movie does have that. There's like some really cool camera tricks they do. Like there's a shot that I thought was really sick, and it made me like kind of jump up in my seat. It's a scene where Becky is climbing down the ladder when they finally are like, all right, let's go home. And the ladder breaks off, and it's like mounted, the camera's mounted on the ladder, and it goes with her, and you're just on the point of view of the ladder, and it breaks off, and you just see Becky fall, and you're like, she's dead. And she's dangling by a rope and everything. It's like, oh shit, dude, this movie's gonna be a ride. When you have moments like that in a movie, and it's like my palms are like sweating, I'm literally gripping my chair, I'm like sitting up, that's how I know you did your movie right. Now, here's the other thing. What about everything else surrounding that? Everything else surrounding that, for me at least, was okay. It wasn't amazing, it wasn't great, it was just like, hey, this is the standard thing. But I look at it like this. I didn't go to this movie for the plot, for character development, for any of that. It was like, these actresses, I should say, are selling me on this whole thing that they are stuck up there and they are trying to fight to survive. And that alone, it's like, it accomplished its mission.
It's a puzzle game, right? It's one of those point and click adventure games, like a Monkey Island, where it's like, okay, does this solution work? Nope. Okay, let's try it with this item. Nope. Okay, cool. It's pretty much that, and I'm here for it because, yeah, I do laud this movie for not taking the Apollo 13 route, which is another, they're trapped up there, way up there in space, but they're not trapped up there. And then it cuts to like the control room, or like it cuts to 911, it cuts to the dad, it cuts to this and that. No, it's just two people stuck in a pizza sized platform, just trying to get down from 2,000 feet. The thing that any emotional attachment to these characters, or any kind of development there, really, for me personally, if you are a climber, if you are a thrill seeker, if you're an adrenaline junkie, good for you. You can probably relate. None of us normal people can, because the moment it cuts to them free climbing, I don't know, I think they even reference it. The thing Tom Cruise does in Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah, they literally say, "What's up, Ethan Hunt?" Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The moment it shows them free climbing on a mountain, it's like, okay, you're just automatically.
Yeah.
I don't have sympathy for you because this is insane. I don't know how your brain, you like, because fear is literally an evolutionary trait for when you're that high up. It's meant to say this is a bad idea. You should be very scared. Fear
Yeah.
is good in this situation. So at that point, when spoiler for the first 5 minutes, like when the dude dies, like, okay, yeah, I don't really feel bad for you at all. Um, and everything subsequent from that is like, okay, yeah, this is a pretty stupid premise, or like a stupid reasons to go into to have the plot go into motion.
And that's what I kept seeing from people
Right.
online and just my own friends. Like, is that really all this is? Like, why would you do that? Why would you? And it's just like, yeah. Look, once you get past that, it's a thrill. It's a thrill ride. That's what this movie is set to do. And it's like, for some reason, I just don't get why people can't get that. Where it's like, it's fine to have a movie that is just, we want to give you an experience of being this high up. I don't get why people can't do that sometimes, but go on, Dom.
I'll add too, if I can. I'll add too a couple other examples of movies done like this. Not all of them spectacularly well, but here you go. Here you go. There's Frozen, not the Disney movie. The movie
The
Frozen.
movie where they're stuck on the ski lift.
Where they're stuck on the ski lift the whole movie. And the ski resort shuts down. There's that one. There's a movie called ATM, which is not very good, but it has a couple good scenes. If the movie ATM is, and this isn't going to make any sense because it doesn't really make any sense. Josh Peck's in that movie. Fun fact. It's three friends stuck in an ATM because there's a killer on the outside. The ATM is like in a parking lot, and it's like a decent sized booth. In like this isolated ATM, which I've never seen one of these things before, but I assume
actually have.
I assume they exist.
Yeah.
They got to be a city thing or something.
They're a city thing. That's why, yeah.
They got to be a city thing. But there's ATM. There's Devil, which was the M. Night Shyamalan produced, I believe, movie where they're stuck in the elevator.
Elevator, yeah.
There's the movie 9/11 where they're stuck in an elevator.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these
that's
movies.
right, with fucking
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg.
The weirdest cast. I mean, not Whoopi Goldberg, but just Charlie Sheen at all.
I remember I saw that movie in theaters, and it came out the same weekend as It, so nobody saw it.
The first show I did with you, I know you talked about this movie, and I'm like, I'm listening to you at 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, man, this movie sounds like shit.
I did review that, yeah, because it was controversial too, because it's about these characters that get stuck in the elevator when the plane hits the World Trade Center, and it was controversial because that never happened. It was not a true story. They were using 9/11 as a plot device, and that was the controversial part of the movie. That didn't bug me as much as the fact that it wasn't a good movie, but I'll always remember I saw that movie, was alone at like 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and my favorite part about that movie was that I ordered this exclusive AMC Pennywise cocktail and had a nice happy buzz at 11 o'clock in the morning off Ciroc vodka. That was while watching the movie, that was my favorite part of 9/11, of the 9/11 of 9/11. I had to really, you gotta be careful how you say that. Jesus H. Christ. But the talking more specifically to Fall, because what I think I sent you guys the teaser trailer. I said I don't know what this is. I've never heard of it. It's coming out in like a month and a half, and it's got no promotion. It doesn't even have a Wikipedia article at the time. I was like, I'm really interested because the teaser trailer is just a view shooting straight up the tower, and then you see these two women almost falling off. And I was like, what compelled these two women to climb a damn radio tower? That's what was known at the time. And I'm not going to lie, the concept that they used to get the two women to the top of that tower is not the least believable thing in the world.
No, it's not.
It's not. I was really wondering how the hell they were going to get those two up there.
Go ahead.
And this is where I'll give props to the movie, is that, you see the sign like, do not enter, height, death, whatever it was that they saw where they had to leave their car and just walk the rest of the time. At that point you should be like, I can't do this and everything. But like, they use Becky's character, who is mourning and everything, and like used to be this adrenaline junkie just like her boyfriend and everything. But as the plot goes on and there's some stuff revealed as the movie goes on, you even understand why Hunter is there as well and what this means for her and everything. And it's just like, damn, like, okay, like there was more thought put into this. It's not amazing, but again, like my whole point is it doesn't have to be. I'm not expecting like fucking like the Godfather of like plot lines for a movie that is just trying to sell me the experience of being 2,000 feet up, worrying about if I'm gonna fall off in my own movie theater chair.
Because I think the people that don't get it just don't get it.
They just don't
like the single location movies, I find them very appealing because number one, they often get you to confront a fear of some kind, whether it's claustrophobia, whether it's like this, a fear of heights. They get you to confront something very in a safe environment when you're either in a theater or watching it at home. That's one of the reasons I like them. Number two, the lean plot and the lack of really intricate mechanics. Often, if these movies are done well, leads to character development of some kind, which this movie has.
Yeah.
In addition to a lot of palm sweating sequences, the movie has pretty, I would say at the very least, adequate character development between Becky and Hunter.
Yeah.
It's not all screaming. It's not all one-word dialogue once they're stuck up there. They're actually kind of intuitive. Some of the stuff that they use to try to get like help makes a lot of sense.
There's a reveal between the two that any bad movie would have just ran with that and made that like a whole thing and just kind of like blown it out of proportion. But because like these characters were stuck in this situation, it felt more real. Like the reaction that Becky had to Hunter's news, it was like, oh, like, you know, I'm mad about it, I'm upset, but I mean, shit, we got bigger things to worry about. We're up on a 2,000 story tower. Like it felt more real. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the reveal. There's like two major reveals in this movie. I like them both. And the other thing that really works too is that Curry and Gardner have a very like believable like teasing chemistry between one another, where they're like, so she's prodding her for being like so absorbed and like, you know, an internet personality and always wanting to get hits and everything, and then she's prodding her as well too for kind of like, you know, chickening out in so many words or like, you know, being apprehensive and stuff. They have this real teasing chemistry, and it makes the one line in it, without giving the context, it makes the one line, maybe if I'm lucky, maybe you'll get lucky and I'll fall to my death. And I liked a lot of it. I liked these women. I found them very likable.
They are.
I found them maybe likable, especially during some of the stuff they do. Like maybe that's not quite the right word, especially for the one character, but I found them believable. I found them like there's worse people I could be stuck on top of a 2,000-foot tower with, and at least these two women had a brain in their heads.
The fact that one of them was an influencer, you think automatically write that character off, but no, there was substance. You don't have to like her necessarily, but there's substance there, and that makes for an interesting story to contrast between the two. Really, yeah, the fact that so many other movies this year in particular have their sights aimed so high in trying to do something epic, something big in the story and the characters and the plot, and then it just doesn't come together. This movie, it does not aim its sights very high. It just is high, and then it just milks that for 100 minutes successfully. It's a close examination of everything else, man. Like these two women, you know, since we've dropped so many F-bombs now, we might have to do our own deep fakes. But you know, these two girls get fucked up.
Oh,
like,
dude.
Rope burns on their hand. Like you'd think because the only way, like the only danger is the big fall. That's it.
No.
They're gonna be, you know, no. They try everything. They get first of all, they throw like 3 of their 4 shoes within like half an hour into this movie, I think.
And they're walking. You gotta think too. They're walking on like a grate.
Rust.
They're walking on like a rusted grate.
Yeah, rusted grate. Definitely, if they're not up to date on their tetanus shots, then they're screwed.
Oh, they got they got the alphabet of hepatitis.
I've never seen like, you know, when
rope burns.
Yeah, when you see sunburn in a movie, man, it's like, oh, you know, that person's just really red. Man, sunburn looks so gross in this movie. Like, just the lips drying up, everything. It's like, oh, dude.
Because they're in the
Hunger,
like you got to think that too.
Oh.
You got to think that too. They're malnourished. They're dehydrated, and then the sun is just unforgivable in the middle of the damn desert. I mean, it could not be a worse situation too.
And
the one, go on.
I was gonna say, and those vultures that like periodically show up throughout the movie, and those vultures would piss me off just as much as that seagull does in the lighthouse.
You know, but The other thing too, and this is a small thing, and it's one of these things I didn't harp on it much in my top, because I'm going to compare this in one element of this to Top Gun Maverick. I didn't harp on it in my Top Gun Maverick review being a male critic too, and I flirted with, I talked about it a little bit in my review of this. You know what I like? You know what I really liked about this movie too? It features two, we would say they're strong, capable, level-headed, smart women. It doesn't need to beat us over the head with that fact.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the same with Phoenix and Top Gun Maverick. She shows up, you think she's here to make the boys look bad. That's what she's going to do. And this is going to be like the quasi-feminist sort of subtext of this whole thing. She's just as capable as everybody else,
Yeah.
and she fits right in. And same with these two women, too. Like, they're not overwritten, is what I'm saying. They're not overwritten to be like a commentary, or you know what I mean? That's the thing. That was a subtle element of this that I also liked, is it showed us they were strong. It didn't tell us.
Even more, I agree, and even more to that point, I wish they had gone, with the four main characters, two main characters, and then two other characters. Right? They probably could have just made them women as well, and nothing would have changed to just drive that point home, because they all serve their different purposes, and none of them is be woman, and that is
true,
how you make that's how you do feminism, in my opinion. Because for the most part, but at least in this very highly toxic movie environment that we're in, don't even try to do that shit in superhero movies if you're if you're trying to maintain proper mental health.
Don't try to do that shit with a sci-fi movie at this point.
Exactly. No, man, it really is a small point, because it doesn't make a big deal out of it, but it winds up doing it effectively.
Yeah, and I noticed it too, and I took that away as well. We'll come back because there's one or two other points I want to make about this movie before we give our final rating. I don't know about you guys. I know this. I was surprised when I was writing this review how long it wound up being, how much I had to say about this thing, given what, I don't want to say little, but given how lean it is, as well. But I had a lot to say. There's two other points I want to bring up, and we'll touch on those when we come back. And we also got to dive into Warner Brothers Discovery's first quarterly earnings report. We got to dive into that, as well as a continuation from our episode a couple weeks ago. A lot going on this Sleepless with Steve. We'll be back in about 60 to 90 seconds after this quick Zoom-sponsored intermission right here on Sleepless with Steve. We are back, Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube on this Wednesday evening. As August is somehow more than halfway over, too. If you're just looking at the calendar again, too, we are almost near Labor Day. My God, this summer was a blink and you miss it kind of a summer.
Dude, man, honestly, like 4th of July came, and next thing you know, it's today.
I'm going to use that line at work tomorrow. 4th of July was here, and now all of a sudden it's today. I like that line a lot. I'm going to have to steal that one. Like, Top Gun Maverick, in some ways, like, this has been such a busy summer for me. Top Gun Maverick simultaneously feels like 2 weeks ago and an eternity ago, if that makes any sense.
Especially with
if that makes any sense.
the wait for it to come to Paramount.
Exactly. Two other quick points I want to bring up about Fall, though. The new Scott Mann movie, now in theaters and probably fairly quickly going to be streaming, or at least available to buy or rent on digital. I already saw Vengeance, that movie that came out literally 3 weeks ago, is available to buy on Vudu today. But moreover, two other quick points. First off, the cinema. Dom touched on it earlier when we was giving his general impressions. The cinematography of this movie is terrific. For what little budget they had with this thing, McGregor, he's a Spanish cinematographer, bodies the hell out of some of these shots. Loved several of these shots. One of which I loved is like a long shot of the top half of the tower, where the sun's position renders both Becky and Hunter as like silhouetted figures.
That was such a great shot. Oh my God.
And it like slowly zooms, but they're like mostly indistinguishable outside of their voices. Love that. Might be my favorite shot of the whole damn thing. In a movie filled with great POV shots and everything, I love that silhouetted look at the top of the tower. That was splendid. And the movie was shot in IMAX too, which made me even more upset that I had to see this on a small screen.
Dude,
it was shot in the IMAX
I would have
format.
gladly seen this in IMAX.
I don't think it was in IMAX. It was shot in IMAX format.
Oh, damn.
It was shot. It wasn't in IMAX. There's no way it was taking theaters from Bullet Train. There's no way.
Yeah, true.
There's no way. But yeah, I was surprised to find that out too, given what little budget money they had making this thing. But shooting it in IMAX format, coupled with a really skilled cinematographer behind the camera, I'm going to leave it open for you guys to comment on this too. But like, I think the fear from the first teaser trailer, and going back to it, I can see it, was the worry that this thing was going to look artificial, was going to really look really poorly rendered or cheap.
Yeah.
Doesn't do that at all. This is a very immaculately shot movie at times.
I mean, I'm gonna say this too. Look, I mean, I noticed bad CG at points. Like, recent Marvel films have had them. This television shows on the CW are very obvious. I'm not a guy that's like always looking for them, like trying to find it. If you're like me and you're not like so hung up on shit like that. I'm swearing a lot during this review because like this movie just made me swear a ton as well, like while I was watching it. If you're a guy like me, it's just like I barely noticed any bad CGI. Maybe a few times with the vultures, maybe like once when like the ladder and pieces of the tower are falling off, but it never took me out of the movie. It never distracted me enough.
How about you, Dom? Anything to add to that?
No, I mean, you guys encapsulated perfectly. I was worried. Here's the thing. It's funny because when you're 2,000, this is a little technical, but like when you're 2,000 feet high up in the air, things like shadows, everything's kind of beyond the pale, or maybe I'm using that wrong, but like it's not normal, right? Not many of us can relate to being 2,000 feet in the air and not be on an airplane or a skyscraper. So I thought that maybe for a second, like, oh, maybe there's some weird lighting things here where it feels like it's fake. But then again, I don't know what it's like to be at the 2,000 feet up in the air, in the open air. So maybe, here and there, that is how the sun would work, because there are some weird situations where, if the sun's beating down on you directly from above, like 90 degrees up from above, you don't cast a shadow and you just look wrong. But I don't know, that's very technical. But really, for the most part, they milk, just like everything else. And they milk the hell out of every single shot, every possible thing they could do. Close-ups on bodies, close-up on screws, and ladders rattling all the way up to the wide shots, particularly with that drone. I didn't think that drone scene would be as gut-wrenching as it would be, but it hit me hard. You start
to find yourself getting as desperate as the characters too, especially with this movie. The script of this movie gets mean in some of the instances of what happens. Like, I don't want to ruin like that RV camper, what happens with that, but like there's a few of these sequences where it's like, damn it, man. It's like, man, they're really torturing these women, aren't they?
I got to a point with the movie too. I'm like, yeah, they might end this movie where they just die. I'm like,
they might just end this movie with it. I said, this woman's going to trip over her one remaining lace on her, or the shoelace on her one remaining shoe. That's how this thing's going to end.
I actually thought about it, where it's just a shot where she falls and then hard cut to the ground, and then you just sit there for 30 seconds, and then you just hear her screaming and then just hit.
Boom.
And like, because like this, the premise
Directed
is already
by Scott
insane.
Mann.
Exactly. The premise is already insane. So like, this is one of the few times where you can pull some. People joke about that people all the time, people joke about it and be like, what if you just ended a movie like this? This is the perfect opportunity to potentially do that. Now, did he?
That's for you
maybe.
to find out.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's for you to find out. We'll see.
The other thing, I could parlay this into my final thoughts too. The ladder climb sequence, especially, and anytime people who know me when I compare a movie to this franchise, that's big because it's one of the franchises I hold dear, even the flawed installments. The ladder climb sequence and the very subtle maybe not subtle, but foreshadowing elements of it reminded me a lot of Final Destination. And anytime I can relate a movie to Final Destination, that movie has checked the box for me because that is a franchise I still hold in high regard. And the ominousness that occurs with that foreshadowing sequence reminds me a lot because Mann's camera really focuses and emphasizes details like aging bolts, spatial awareness, loosening screws. Like it's like a 5-minute scene of them climbing that ladder alone, and just getting up to it, looking around and stuff, and like getting up to that final platform. So I like this movie quite a bit for all the reasons I just stated. I wish it was. I don't know what you could have done with it. I think it was always destined to kind of be a smaller hit. I'm glad it got a theater release too. I'm really glad that it did see something of a theatrical release. I don't know how I think it might do if it goes on like Netflix or Hulu or something. I think it'll do very well.
I think Netflix would be a great place for this.
I agree. I found I love with a movie like this too. I was telling my friend this too. He didn't have any interest in it. I was telling him. I said, this is absolutely, like before I saw it, I said, this is absolutely a go either way kind of a movie in terms of quality.
Yeah.
And it's always nice to see what I would consider to be the best case scenario for a go either way kind of movie, especially in mid-August when we're in such a movie drought now.
Yep.
Really until and I don't know if it's going to be that big of a hit. Don't Worry, Darling. I don't know. I don't think that's guaranteed to be any big of a hit.
But you're right though. That is like the next big thing that's been promoted like crazy.
The next noteworthy thing that's going to get the Harry Styles bump, I assume, whatever that bump looks like. But it's 3.5 out of 4 stars for me. I dug the hell out of this movie, and I really think that it's a best case scenario for a single setting movie like this where heights are paramount to everything. I think it's an excellent genre film, truly. 3.5 out of 4 stars. We'll go Joe, then Dom to send us home.
Man, look, I mean, Dom also hit on this too, and it reminded me of what I said when Steve and I reviewed Murder on the Orient Express back in, 2018, 2017, whenever that movie came out. 17. Sometimes you get movies, they just come, and they're like this, and it's like they're either a hit or they're not, but what it is a refreshing drink of water after a blockbuster season. I had a great time during blockbuster season this year. I ended it with Bullet Train, and Bullet Train was a hell of a ride. I loved it. But I did want something more scaled back, more like, I'm gonna use the word too, more lean, as Steve has been saying. And this movie hit everything there. It's not perfect. It's not anything groundbreaking. It's not meant to be that. I had a great time watching it, and it's a nice drink of water after like this big blockbuster summer that we had, full of big releases. Now that COVID's not necessarily over, but we're treating it as it is. So for me, it is 3 out of 4 stars. A very solid 3 out of 4 stars.
Joe, was your use of lean a pun because Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in this movie?
Oh yeah, he's always been leaning in that Walking Dead, man.
No, man. You can't say you enjoy film or like you're a fan of film without appreciating. You don't have to like this movie. Appreciating it, appreciating it, and for what it does and what it is in this climate. Sometimes I worry about. I mean, this is coming from a guy who's probably the least, film fan and the least, least read in the filmography than you guys. But even me, I worry that with all these superhero movies coming out, a lot of them I do like, but still, people are only exposed to film through blockbusters. These are the complete antithesis of that, which isn't even poking fun at it or even making aggressive at it. It's its own thing. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt your final thoughts, but like I talked to so many people, it's like, man, Top Gun, that's like the first movie I've seen in a long time that like I thought was good. And here's the thing, I love Top Gun Maverick, but if that's the first movie you've seen in a long time that you have genuinely loved, dude, you either have the highest standards I know when it comes to blockbusters, or you just don't go to the movies enough. Like, this is just, that's all I gotta say.
And I always have to remind myself too that like I mean, like me especially, I think I go to the theater more than you guys, but like we're anomaly cases too, and going like every week and seeing almost everything that's out as well. You know what I mean? But no, I completely agree though. For like the people that say they haven't made a good movie in years, you just haven't watched movies.
Yeah.
You just haven't watched movies. Like that's what my takeaway on that.
And you know, but I don't mean to be elitist here. And part of the problem, a big chunk of the problem, is marketing. It's money. It's there's no DVD sales, so everything has to be a blockbuster, streaming. This is something that we're going to talk about in the next story. But that's part of it too. But just to open your mind, way open, in the middle of a desert, 2,000 feet high up in the air, you will feel something different. And it may be coming from your lower back regions, clenching because of this film. That's 3 out. I did not think I was going to end that way. 3 out of 4 stars. A very high, very strong 3 out of 4 stars for Fall.
It has been a good year. I mean, I know this is more of a thriller. It's been a very good year for horror movies.
Yeah.
It's been a very good year. And we still got, Pearl. I'm seeing bodies this weekend. Pearl next month. I'm super stoked for.
Halloween Kills to like kind of cap it off.
Halloween Ends.
Halloween Ends. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Halloween Ends is coming out. Like, there's still a lot more ground to cover with horror but by the end of the year and stuff.
Hell, I mean, Don't Worry, Darling is almost a horror film from the looks of it.
That's a thriller. You can lump that in there. But I mean, X, The Black Phone. Like, there's been a lot of really well-made horror movies this year, and I think you could put this alongside that, at least in the thriller category. So I'm glad we liked it as a collective. I was really interested in your guys' take, because I almost thought too. There's a part of me going into this too that I was thinking like, oh man, I really hope I didn't just force him to see one of the worst movies of the year. Like. Because I told you it was a go either way kind of movie. I'm also happy this thing's gotten damn good reviews too. Yeah. I didn't read a single review until after I watched it, and my review. It's at a 73 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, okay, good. I'm not like going insane. That I thought like, man, this might be like a hidden gem this year.
I forgot to mention this in the review popper, but Robert Redford's All Is Lost. I love that movie.
It's another one.
I think that's better than this. I was gonna make a joke. That because it doesn't have any women in it. No, really. I think All Is Lost is better, but it's in that same exact lane, and I love that movie. And honestly, like if you had picked me on a different day, maybe even coming out of that movie, I might have given it 3.5 too.
All Is Lost is a really underrated movie.
Yeah.
And that's another movie too. That does not have a lot of dialogue in it either. There's probably maybe 2 pages of dialogue that whole damn movie, if that.
And I think half of them is just the F-bomb.
Yeah, I remember the first time in that movie when he screams, and it's like the first audible piece of dialogue of the whole thing, and it's almost like jarring.
Yeah,
that movie sound editing is insane too. I love the sound in that movie.
That's a very underrated Robert Redford movie there, and I kind of was like The Old Man and the Gun, which was like his most recent thing, like that was like billed as his last movie. That was good. That was a good movie.
But you kind of wish All Is Lost was the last one, right?
I wish All Is Lost it was like The Mule with Clint Eastwood. Like, I'm so grateful he's still around and stuff, and he's making movies, but it's like, God damn it. Like, The Mule would have been a perfect swan song.
I was going to say, know your swan song and learn to end on it.
I like Cry Macho way more than you guys did, but I'm like, man, that really needed to be, The Mule needed to be his final movie.
Yeah.
Like, directing, acting, that was a perfect encapsulation of that whole thing, of his whole career. But we'll pivot to this because we do have to touch on this. Like I said, I was contemplating touching on the Jeanette McCurdy thing because there's a lot to talk about on that, and I really want to read that memoir too. I need to buy that, come to think of it. But moreover, though, I do think after all that we talked about it with the show 2 weeks ago, we do have to touch on this too. It's kind of fallen out of the news cycle because it has been 2 weeks, but I do think that you haven't heard the end of at least even this year, of what exactly the future is for HBO Max. Because it's almost anybody's guess now. Some things got a little demystified during the quarterly earnings report call. I wish I could remember his name. I even saw some follow on Twitter. But shout out to the guy that was live tweeting that whole thing because he actually had access to it and was live tweeting that. He's outstanding. I hawked over that like for an hour. But It just came out 2 days ago that 70 employees at HBO Max got laid off too. So the gutting, I hate to say it, but like it's like the gutting has become. A couple quick points, then I'll turn it over to somebody else just so I can not hear myself talk as much. But Warner Brothers Discovery, this was their first quarterly earnings call since Warner Brothers and Discovery merged. They reported $92.1 million or 92.1 million combined streaming subscribers. So that was the big number they revealed. They also reported a lot of different financial terms. The reported revenue for them right now is 9.8 billion and a loss of 3.4 billion, which misses expectations on both counts. The revenue was lower and the loss was higher than a lot of the projections had them too. David Zaslav, though, talked about a little bit in regards to what their distribution model is going to be. I'll use this line. He says, we intend to maximize the value of that content through a broad distribution model that includes theatrical, streaming, linear cable, which you don't hear much, free to air, gaming, consumer products and experiences, and more everywhere in the world. Zaslav, too, it's worth reminding people, Zaslav was the man behind Discovery. He was the man who was running Discovery for the last several years, and now he's in control of HBO Max. A lot of the boardroom now, or at least the decision maker front office of Warner Brothers, is now populated by Discovery people. And there's still a lot of speculation on what the future of HBO Max is going to look like, because come next summer, and this will definitely be a show topic in the spring and summer of next year, HBO Max and Discovery are going to merge into one service. There's no real indicator on what that's going to look like, but the more they talked and the more they spoke about it, and we opined about it on the show, I'm really worried that it's going to wind up being an HBO tab on a Discovery-centric streaming service, which I think is the most wrong-headed move you can make. Because absent from their press conference, when they went over their brands, and I get that they don't own these two properties, but omitted entirely was TCM and Studio Ghibli. Entirely from their plans. And I get, again, I know they lease that content, they don't own it. But if that told you anything, I don't think they're looking to re-up. I don't think they're looking to re-up that commitment too, which then, I mean, if you take off the Miyazaki movies and TCM from HBO Max, you still have a wealth of HBO content, an original series and movies, sports documentaries, human interest documentaries, still a lot on there. But you get rid of TCM and Studio Ghibli, and that is a massive loss for HBO Max. That is one of the things that makes HBO Max what I still consider the best streaming service on the market, because they go back, they have movies that generally do not fit corporate models of streaming services because the demand is significantly lower for movies like TCM, the TCM era movies and Studio Ghibli movies. But at the same time, though, that's what makes it unique too, is that they cater to that audience as well. And they cater to that, a streaming service where everything's current, a streaming landscape where everything's hyper current in the moment, just released. They go back. The back catalog for older movies on streaming is very lacking. And just those couple quick points, I'll throw it over to Dom. Dom's usually better explaining financial stuff than I am, and his perspective is a little, in this space, is a little bit grander than mine. I talk about it from an art perspective. He generally nails the business side of it. I want to know what your takeaway was from the information that was released from Warner just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, dude. Chekhov's gun, Occam's razor, Zaslav's hammer. Just chip it away at it, baby. It's a beautiful way to run a business in some frames of mind. But yeah, dude, the fact that also, I mean, it's one of those things when you look at these big conglomerates, you go, oh yeah. Warner Brothers Discovery owns CNN. It owns CNN Global, which is the parent company of CNN, which is just a roundabout way of, because like how technically Home Box Office Incorporated is the parent company of HBO, but regardless. Yeah, and I don't think CNN Plus was really going to go anywhere anyway, but that's just another way of looking at it. Because yeah, if they're not going to talk up Studio Ghibli, and they're shuttering CNN Plus as well, along with these two movies, my goodness, what is the possible strategy you have to be going with this? I cannot fathom it. It is there's a past and the present, or the future, however you want to look at that. But it's either the worst possible decision you can make, or I mean, it's already made. So here, or you can make it a yin yang situation. They can work synergetically. That's with bated breath. That's what everyone's waiting on, because you have very prestigious, right? Warner Brothers, HBO, high art content, some of the greatest art you've seen. I know Grace, big screen and silver screen, small screen, or big and small. And then you have Discovery, which feels a lot more, I don't want to say trashy. That's harping down too on it, but it's more unscripted content, more trying to use the words that they're using.
Even they used it though in their presentation. They called HBO programming like lean forward, and they called Discovery programming lean back.
Oh, that's beautiful. Joe, have you? We should have told you to do this beforehand, but have you been showing any of those Twitter the slides from that one Twitter feed?
No, I've not, unfortunately.
That's fine. We should have done that before.
I should have briefed you on that. That's on me.
But still, it is very interesting how they're going to implement it, and we're really just waiting with bated breath. Because and here's the thing, bated breath, but also with heavy cynicism, because when has any company, particularly one with a gentleman like Zaslav at the head, when is any of that has gone well, or consumer friendly, or in a way that keeps the artistic people happy? Not really so much. Dude. The revenues are less and the losses are higher, and they still cut CNN, which I don't know, man. I love the news environment. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really don't, but that's more my world, is what I'm saying. But the fact that they still cut that, that is the one case where maybe the writing was on the wall, kind of like Scoob. Everyone's like, oh man, Batgirl, Scooby-Doo, whatever, Batgirl. It might be the same way with CNN, where it's it has a certain presence on cable. Would it have survived? Does it have enough content to survive its own streaming service? Probably not. So maybe they can roll it into Discovery Plus. This is going to be a very, very strange thing to brand. That's another angle. How the hell do you brand this?
Yeah, this is going to be a nightmare to brand.
Animaniacs, Wolf Blitzer, what?
The Sopranos, Ice Truckers Alaska.
Tony Soprano and Ice Truckers Alaska. Oh man, I don't know. This is a big mystery. This is getting comical, right? This is getting South Park level, where everything's a plus.
And if you had Warner decision makers, sorry to cut you off, if you had Warner decision makers really spearheading this, the solution would be so simple, and I think it would be justified. A Discovery tab on HBO Max's oscillating platform on the screen. It would be a Discovery tab that would have everything. But you know what I think the debate's going to range on now, and it's going to play into what they're going to call this thing, whatever they're going to call it next year. It's going to be and I don't know the answer to this. I don't. But how strong is HBO's brand internationally? That's also going to play a factor into this too, because I don't know. I know HBO's huge in America, and it's been like that for years, since the 90s, ever since The Sopranos, technically. But I don't know what the line of thinking on that is going to be too. But I also think that Discovery's content, I think a lot of it too, at least I know it's kind of some of their shows are worldly, but also just the presentation factor, I think very much skews American. I think just the presentation of it is very American. And I hate to say how dumbed down a lot of it is, but it's true.
Yeah. It's worldly, but will it translate to the rest of the world? It's really hard to say. Now I'm just starting to think to BBC nature documentaries and how they do that, and how that's very unlike how we do it in America, where they really do need to dumb it down for our eyes and our ears. But that's the way of the world. Hey, if anything, you take anything out of this, if you have an HBO subscription, if the rumors are true that we're starting right now, go watch Lupin the Third, Castle of Cagliostro before it's taken off, before they excise the Ghibli portion of it. Man, what a What a move that would be. Oh, jeez.
Joe, what say you? You can send us home on this topic.
I don't got much else to say because like you guys have been covering it. I do like him mentioning the gaming aspect made me think of like their new Smash Bros. Game that recently came out, Multiverses, where they have characters from different like properties, like Superman fighting the Iron Giant, or Walter White fighting Rick and Morty or something. It just made me go like, okay, so are Discovery people like Guy Fieri gonna show up now and fight Batman?
For the record, you know that the Breaking Bad characters is a joke.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Because I actually almost fell for it at first when I first saw it. And I'm like, this is a really good 3D model.
Yeah.
Is this real? Is this happening?
LeBron James
they have Arya Stark. They have Arya Stark,
Yeah.
R-rated Arya Stark in the game. So are they going to do it? Part of me kind of wants them to just for the laughs. But it's that whole project is so masturbatory. I mean, I will say, if it winds up being, if the mechanics are good enough and the fighting game community can rally around it, then hey, good on them. They made a good game.
Yeah.
But just all of it. It's what is the brand? I don't know.
Hey,
I
man,
can't
and with
pin it
Discovery,
down.
I'm not even sure they know. I'm not even sure they
don't.
know. I think if they knew that, they would have at least given the streaming service a name.
That's true.
Yeah, Warner Discovery, Warner Brothers Discovery, man. It's
you know
like
what?
they can't let it go.
I'm gonna bet on it right now. I'm gonna bet. I already lost my one bet about the F-bomb and the iCarly that I'm still iCarly season 1 that I'm waiting for to Dom. I don't know if anybody wants to take me on this. I got $5 that says they're gonna call it Max.
Just Max.
What's the full name?
Max. I think that's what they're.
Get the hell out of
I'm gonna
here.
call
I wouldn't put it past, because then they got HBO Max. Like, you still have the brand recognition from that. There's no other streaming service known as Max. I almost wonder if that's going to be Max Plus or some variation on that.
Max.
I'm gonna put my money down on Discovery Max.
Max Plus.
Max Plus would be. You can't write that shit.
Would you say, Joe?
Discovery Max
That makes more sense.
or Max Discovery.
The brain dead idea that between HBO and Max, you would think that the Max holds more brand recognition than HBO.
I mean, I can see it though. I can see maximum content,
I see what you mean.
maximum entertainment, maximum lean back
Oh,
programming. Max.
I like.
Then Zaslav comes
That's
in
like
in a
Xbox
turtleneck
One.
as if he did something impressive.
Yeah, man. I mean, it sucks. I because like like when we were in a pandemic, I mean that was the streaming service I turned to because it was like, well, shit, I got time to finally watch all of Kurosawa's like library thanks to TCM.
Watch so much Ed and Eddie on that damn thing.
I can watch. I can catch
Kurosawa and Ed Nettie. That's
what I'm
Sleepless with
saying.
Steve.
No,
but
Why
like,
it's
Steve
the
is right.
best.
Steve is right. I went from watching Hitchcock in the morning to watching like Adult Swim like home movie episodes at night. Like I went from that. I watched like Rick and Morty, and then like it's like 1 second I'm like I'm binging The Sopranos for the very first time. The next I'm watching like Sesame Street. It's just like
I'm sorry.
why
You
not?
think HBO stands? You think HBO stands for home box office? No, man. It's Harvey Birdman
There we
Online.
go.
That is what that means to
like,
me.
It's very disappointing to think I'm gonna lose 2 categories, one of which like I was planning on starting soon, so I gotta crank that up more because I have never seen a few of those Studio Ghibli movies. Like I haven't seen
Same.
I haven't seen Poyo. I haven't seen Spirited Away. I know it's like a sin for people like out there. Like if you haven't seen that by now,
I need to watch it again because that was way over my head when I was a young.
I gotta watch my watch list on HBO Max. Aside from shows I go back to all the time, one of which being Ed and Eddie. My watch list is a lot of TCM movies.
Yeah. And it sucks to think that we'll lose that, but it also sucks to think, I mean, because we saw this with a few of the original things, it would suck to think that we also lose other original stuff that Max created on there. Like, Class Action Park, like, great documentary I loved watching, great review that we did here, too. It's a fun thing I like to throw on for people, like, or suggest to people, like, oh, if you're looking for a documentary, this is a very fun one.
I recommend that one all the time. Yeah.
And it would just suck to see, like, it just be like, well, no need for that anymore. Like,
I mean, they've already cut American, like, and I know, like,
American
people are
Pickle.
gonna roll their eyes. American Pickle, Charm City Kings, like, they have no they have no problem cutting stuff that they made specifically for that app because you got to think it's a new regime.
Yeah,
it's a new regime. They didn't commission these movies.
Yeah,
they thought $90 million. They thought Batgirl was better as a tax write-off. If they're gonna do that and they're gonna scrap an already made sequel to a very popular kids movie in Scoob, they got loyalty to nothing. They have loyalty to absolutely nothing. If they can just write off $130 million worth of content, and that was like, you would argue tailor-made for streaming.
Yeah.
If you don't have high hopes for it, if they're just going to do that, they got no loyalty to anybody.
No, they don't. No.
They got have no loyalty. One of the best piece of wisdom I ever got as a kid. Have no loyalty to your employer. They got no loyalty to you.
They're going they're going to look at the last earnings of that last Fantastic Beasts movie that still has 2 movies lined up, and they're gonna be like, it didn't make that much money. Let's just cut it. Like, forget it. Like, series ends there. Like, it's sad. Like,
we're gonna have our finger on the pulse of this story for a while because it's not going away. The waters have calmed a little bit, but the last thing I'll mention though is, like, you saw it. You saw it. Now you're kind of seeing. This is the other thing too, because obviously an acquisition of this level, or a merger of this caliber, was long in the works, way before even the general public knew about it. Now you're starting to see, though, and I've been critical of him in the last couple of years in an artistic sense, but from a business sense, you are now seeing why Christopher Nolan took Oppenheimer to Universal.
Absolutely.
Why he was scorned, it was more than just the Tenet release, than the Warner Brothers shipping their whole catalog to HBO Max in conjunction with theaters during the pandemic. It was more than that. I don't know if Oppenheimer gets made. If it's up to Warner Brothers, I don't know if Oppenheimer gets made. Like, I respect Nolan for making what was a ballsy move. That now it's like, okay, now we see why Nolan threw such a fit. He was kind of right.
Now that would have been like cutting a Christopher Nolan film, which is a brand in and of itself. That would have been insane to do. Even Batgirl,
I'm not saying they would have, but if it was an idea that Nolan
Right.
pitched to this new regime, there's no guarantee that's getting made.
That's insane to me. That's insane to me. But then again, so are so many other things of this deal.
You want to know what would like really drive home film like fans and make us lose our shit to riot on the street? Is if they just canceled the Barbie movie and just wrote that off. I would legit lose my mind. If they went like early screening of it, they would just be like, you know what? We're just not going to release the movie.
That would get me to stand out. That would get me to stand out on the street with Greta Gerwig signs.
Preventing me from seeing more of Ryan Gosling and that perfect plastic body.
You know, like, the hype train for that movie is getting a little off the rails, pun intended. But, like, man, oh man, that is going to be a fun. Is that coming out the same weekend as Oppenheimer? I know they're the same month. They're coming out the same. They're coming out.
Oh
the
my
same
god,
day.
are you kidding me?
Oppenheimer versus Barbie, dude. And like, I've seen memes because like the Oppenheimer like standee they have at theaters is the main character like walking with the nuke going off behind him, and there's a countdown in the cloud of the mushroom of the explosion saying how many days until Oppenheimer like releases, and it's a digital clock. It's such a cool standee.
Oh, that's cool.
And I saw a standee. I saw a tweet saying if Warner Brothers wants to be like really like, you know, shady towards Nolan, they should just put the same thing with Barbie and just have her like in her car with like the clock on the car counting down to when she releases.
That's almost as insane as the day Eat, Pray, Love, starring Julia Roberts, and The Expendables came out the same day, or at least the same weekend. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, it's counter programming. Winnie the Pooh came out the same weekend as Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows.
Mamma Mia and the Dark Knight.
Mamma Mia and the Dark Knight's another one. You know, no, it's sensible. I think it's sensible counter programming. Although I will say I'm gonna have to prioritize one. I'm seeing Barbie Thursday night.
Same. I'm going Barbie first.
I'm going Barbie too.
You know, man.
If anything, just to skip the Nolan fanboys in the crowd.
So
on that first one.
When he brings up time in his movie, you don't hear him go.
What a show. It's great to be back. Now I saw what was missing my last Wednesday. Great show as always, gang. Next week we are reviewing Bodies. So nice, got to say it thrice. The new A24 movie. now in theaters. And you know what? I'm going to make a note here for next week. I have got a good bitch fest next week. Regardless of whether or not I like Bodies, it's going to be irrelevant to my larger bitch fest. About A24's cockamamie release strategy with movies this summer. I got a bone to pick. I got a bone to pick with the company that proved a lot with Everything Everywhere All at Once and completely bungled the release of Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Number one, no, I'm being deathly serious over here, and I'm not the only one talking about this. They bungled the shit out of the release of that movie, and they screwed up the Bodies release too. I got an opening rant for next week. I just made myself a note. I got an opening rant you're not going to want to miss.
This was Steve at the beginning of the year with A24, and this is Steve now with A24.
I love A24. I do. I really do. It's a good chance one or two of their movies makes my top 10. But their release strategy needs to get more linear. Their release strategy needs to get more damn linear.
Yeah, and it's nice, this is Steve and I's subscription thing to it. They gave us this magazine for Bodies. That's where I got those emojis from. But, Steve got a free ticket from being a, subscribed member, and he couldn't use it the weekend he got it because the thing wasn't playing out by him.
And they marketed the shit out of this
They did,
movie.
yeah.
They marketed the shit out of this movie. Completely. And even Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. You know what I learned this week? Because I was researching this a little bit, and we'll end with this nice rant. They played that movie during a couple kids' movies. The trailer for the Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Yeah.
They played it during a couple kid movies. Would you believe the goddamn thing never was released in more than 800 theaters?
Yeah.
It was never released in more than 800 theaters. I think they missed the ball. I think they missed the ball on a hell of a sleeper hit. I'm not saying it would have made $100 million. I think it would have at least done pretty well.
I'm criminal here. I don't know much about Marcel the Shell, but there were random people in my Facebook feeds dude, Marcel the Shell. I didn't even know you watched movies. What? Are you kidding me? What is going on?
I'm serious. Everybody, I don't know much about Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I don't know. I never saw the damn thing. It never opened wide enough. So I got a rant coming for next week that you do not want to miss before we dive into Bodies next week. Cannot wait to see that movie, though, regardless, and dive into the magazine courtesy of A24. That's our show, though. For Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, good to be back, and yours truly. This has been Sleepless with Steve.